Welcome to Daily Drive for Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. I'm Kellen Walker in Las Vegas. Today on the show, President Trump threatens to block the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge, a critical link for the North American auto industry. Honda calls for a fundamental review of its auto strategy after mounting EV losses. And the Ford worker who heckled President Trump during a plant visit is keeping his job. Plus, Lance Woelfer of American Honda joins me to talk about the company's fresh lineup and flexible manufacturing strategy.
We've always been seen as a go-to for transportation and a great and fun drive. And at the same time, we're building very capable vehicles.
Right. Let's run through all the news you need to know to keep up in the auto industry. President Trump is threatening to block the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge between Windsor and Detroit. In a social media post, Trump said the U.S. should own at least one half of the bridge before it opens this year. Canada funded the entire $6.4 billion project, which will be publicly owned by both Canada and Michigan. Nearly half the freight crossing the current Ambassador Bridge is automotive vehicles and parts. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer says the bridge is all about jobs and will open one way or another. More on this story in a minute with Automotive News Canada's Greg Layson. Honda is calling for a fundamental review of its auto strategy after mounting electric vehicle losses pushed its auto business deeper into the red. The Japanese automaker racked up $1.7 billion in EV write-offs over 9 months. Global EV sales fell by half to just 15,000 vehicles in the latest quarter. That's a stark contrast to Toyota, which doubled its EV sales to 63,000 in the same period. Honda's auto unit has now posted 4 straight quarters of operating losses. The company says it will significantly revise its EV strategy going forward, while doubling down on hybrids. It plans to sell 2.2 million hybrid vehicles by 2030. And a Ford worker who heckled President Trump during a plant visit last month is keeping his job. That's according to the UAW. Thomas T.J. Sabula criticized Trump's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein controversy during the January 13th tour of Ford's Dearborn assembly plant. Trump responded with profanity and his middle finger, telling Sabula he'd be fired. UAW Vice President Laura Dickerson spoke about it with attendees at a Washington conference.
He also said, "You're fired." Well, this ain't The Apprentice. TJ has got his job. And more importantly, TJ has no discipline on his record.
Ford Executive Chairman Bill Ford called the incident unfortunate. Now let's dig deeper into that Gordie Howe Bridge story. Joining me is Greg Layson, digital and mobile editor for Automotive News Canada and host of the Automotive News Canada podcast. Greg, as usual, welcome back to Daily Drive.
Good to be back.
All right, Greg, so help us understand the stakes here. What would it mean for the auto industry if this bridge opening gets delayed or blocked entirely?
What it means is more difficult logistics, less efficiency, and higher costs. The entire reason this new bridge is being built, and it is built, it's constructed, it's almost ready to open. The reason it's there is to allow automakers and suppliers easier access, quicker access in a just-in-time environment that the auto industry works in. So we're talking about getting parts from, say, Toledo to Windsor for minivan production in a quick, efficient manner. The problem with the current bridge is that in order to get to it and to any factories in Canada and in Detroit or Metro Detroit is that you have to drive through not residential, but certainly commercial areas. And so you have a lot of stoplights, a lot of congestion. It's not efficient. This new bridge will link essentially Montreal to Miami with no stoplights. And what it does is it allows parts makers in Ontario, anywhere from the Greater Toronto area down, and parts makers anywhere in the Midwest US states to cross back and forth a lot more seamlessly and with a lot more efficiency. So it's huge. The auto industry has been a huge proponent of this bridge for at least 2 decades. And now here we are a few months from it opening, and Donald Trump is saying no.
Now, Canada funded this entire project. What's the reaction been like north of the border to Trump's demand that the U.S. own at least half of the bridge?
Yeah, there's a lot of folks up here saying, without to heck with that. They're not buying what Donald Trump is selling. We have paid for this bridge in its entirety. And it did, despite what Donald Trump's claims are, it did employ U.S. workers in steel, in construction, in paving, in roadwork, in engineering. The list goes on and on. And it will end up with a better, more modern U.S. Customs port of entry and a better Canadian Customs port of entry on both sides. This is a win-win for both countries, and we paid for it with the idea that we would recoup all costs through tolls. And remember, this bridge is jointly owned by Canada and the state of Michigan, not the United States of America. So there's a little wrinkle in all of this that needs to be ironed out. I'm not sure how easily Donald Trump can just say, no, I won't open the bridge, when in fact the United States doesn't own the bridge. Now, I'm sure he has some say. I'm sure Congress has some say in all of this. This is a security issue. This is a port of entry, but it could get really messy really fast. But Canadians just simply don't think the United States is entitled to half the ownership of this bridge.
Perfect. Greg Layson, as always, thank you so much for joining me.
Anytime.
Coming up next, Lance Woelfer of American Honda talks about how the company's fresh lineup and flexible manufacturing strategy positions them to grow in a challenging market. That's next on Daily Drive.
Are you a dealer creating a workplace culture your employees are proud to be part of? Applications are now open for the 2026 Automotive News Best Dealerships to Work For program. This isn't just an award, it's a chance to get real insight into what's working at your dealership and where you can improve. And we've expanded the categories this year, recognizing everything from technician experience and leadership development to AI enablement and employee retention. The registration deadline is April 17th. Find out more and apply at autonews.com.
Welcome back to Daily Drive. I'm Kellen Walker. Honda says its refreshed lineup and flexible manufacturing give it an edge in a contracting market. At last week's NADA show here in Las Vegas, I spoke with Lance Woelfer, Vice President of Automobile Sales for American Honda. He says the future is bright for the Japanese automaker here in the U.S. Here's our conversation. Lance Woelfer of American Honda, thank you so much for joining me on Daily Drive.
Happy to be here. Nice to meet you.
So, Lance, how can you grow sales this year when it looks like the market is contracting and your key competitors are being very aggressive in the market?
Well, I think, one, we're being aggressive as well, making sure that we've got everything going for us. From a product standpoint, over the last 18 months, we've refreshed nearly all of our products. So you could easily say that we've got one of the most fresh lineups in the industry, which really gives us an edge. And then we've got, really the right mix for the marketplace, especially when you think about consumers and their focus on hybrids, right, and where we've been really successful with the Civic Accord CR-V and now bringing the Prelude to market. But our ability with our EV hub in Ohio, but really what's important about that is the flexibility of lines that we've designed there. While EV's in the name of EV hub, it's about flexibility that we can on the same line build a gasoline engine vehicle, a hybrid vehicle, right, or an EV. So we can turn it up or down from what the consumer's looking for, and gives us the ability, I think, to be in the right place for the market and having the right content. So I think we're well positioned to grow and fight through a challenging market, but come out with a lead.
How does America Honda's strategy help mitigate the tariff threat in 2026?
Well, if you look at Honda as a rule, we've always built where the consumer is and really worked to be part of the community that we're doing business in. And we benefit from that. So we're about 60+% of our production in the United States, 99% of it in North America. And that puts us in a much stronger position than almost every other competitor for what we build here and to have a, positive situation. Tariffs are still a challenge, don't get me wrong. But I think from American Honda standpoint, we're in a better position than most, and it gives us the option to continue to grow.
Okay, let's talk about some products. So initial feedback from dealers was mixed regarding the camper. Given the financial and competitive constraints,
Why is it the right time to do that? And do you see it as more of a gateway to more rugged and, the utility segment?
Well, first, it's a prototype and something that we're looking at for the market. So why is it a good fit for Honda is really about what we've been doing with our lineup for the last number of years. And we've been focusing on our capability off-road, our ruggedness of our vehicles, because we've always been seen as a go-to for transportation and a great and fun drive. And at the same time, we're building very capable vehicles that can handle a lot of, off-road activity. And the base station really can help enhance that and allow our consumers, and it can be towed by a CRV, by the way.
Oh, wow.
And an EV, and can allow our consumers, of which there's 2 million more people recently that have become campers and started really enjoying the outdoors, to grow with the brand and give another connection between Honda, our dealers, and consumers. It's about customer lifetime loyalty, and you've got to find as many ways as possible to engage with that consumer. It's also not a drain on resources. It's a different team than our design teams for automotive. So it really puts us in the ability to just find new ways to reach out and engage with the customers.
Absolutely. Now, the Odyssey has been a standout in a declining segment. Where do you see that segment going, and what is Honda's strategy to remain competitive?
Well, the Odyssey has been, as many as 200,000 units in the past. And yes, the segment has reduced, but it's really kind of solidified at where it is, where we're able to do a little less than 100,000 units, 80,000 units, 70,000, and succeed in that. Really, it's still competitive, but it's really about that consumer who knows how that model, and particularly overall that segment, can really enhance your ability to enjoy kind of a lifestyle when you've got a couple of kids or you need a lot of flexibility from a driving standpoint. Where I see it going is I don't see huge growth in that segment, but it's stabilized.
Right.
We see it as a good pathway for a lot of consumers to really enjoy the brand. And every time I drive an Odyssey, which is kind of often, actually, I really love that car.
Yeah.
It's the only minivan I've ever driven where I forget I'm driving a minivan and I'm enjoying the drive.
That's awesome.
So I think for us, it really enhances the lineup. But the segment-wise, I think it still continues to be an opportunity that we can capitalize on for years to come.
Now, with the Highlander now being offered in a Grand Highlander, do you envision an extended Pilot or Passport?
Well, I think there's opportunity always in that segment for growth. But where the Pilot sits right now is really well positioned for the consumer moving up from a CRV, and really within the brand, I think is a great fit for us at a 7 or 8 passenger, and all the focus it gives on off-road capacity with our Trail Sport Pilot, but also what we've been able to do with the Passport and grow. So we have opportunities to continue to grow as we go forward. But from the Pilot standpoint, I think it's well positioned where it is. And, we'll see where everything goes from there. We're not really talking about future product.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
And finally, can you share more details on the next generation of 6-cylinder hybrid, and what models do you anticipate receiving it?
We get that question a lot. So really all we've communicated is that, hey, that's under development. We had, some folks out to kind of see some details on that 2-motor hybrid system and where it can help, grow our lineup and really meet customer needs in the future. We're not going to be specific on what models, but I think, we've been pretty clear that that's under development and something that you'll see, in the future for Honda and Acura.
Perfect. Lance Woelfer, thank you so much for joining me on Daily Drive.
Oh, thank you.
That's Daily Drive for today. I'm Kellen Walker. Thanks to Automotive News executive producer Jake Neer, as well as our own Hans Greimel and Nato Akamura for their reporting for today's podcast. We also have reporting from Greg Layson of our sibling publication, Automotive News Canada. You can get the latest news on tariff and trade, Honda's strategy shift, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com. Come back tomorrow for a conversation with Brian McDonald, CEO of CDK Global.
Now we're moving into the next phase. I would just call it level 2 AI, which is where you take rich data and you get insights to bring value to dealers.
We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show and the topics we covered today. Send us an email at dailydrive@autonews.com or leave us a voicemail at 313-444-2774. And if you enjoyed the podcast, remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.